Hello, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Invincible podcast. I am your host, Talia, and I am so excited to have you here. This podcast is to reframe your mindset, challenge those limiting beliefs that you may have when you're navigating all the situations in your life. And I'm here to give you tools to help you navigate them in such a healthy way and to harness your personal power that we tend to lose along the way. So settle up, get ready, grab a coffee, and get ready for some juice in each episode as I throw you what life has thrown me and we can navigate this shit together. Hey guys, okay, so before we jump into this episode, I really wanted to just quickly reiterate and sort of cover on a few things as I was editing this. That in the episode, when I start to talk about our past and what we have experienced, and I do say the word trauma, not needing to freak anyone out, that as I'm explaining it, I am explaining it from a simple and more of a universal base. I'm not talking into everyone who has had significant amount of trauma. Okay, I do have a very specific episode for this, but this is not the episode to dive into that realm. Okay, but when I do touch on it, I'm trying to be very universal because not everyone has had such a hard experience. I am someone who has had an experience where it's a lot more deeper than what I'm actually talking about. But that's not what I'm referencing in this episode because I'm trying to get a point across and trying to create more of like a universal understanding. Okay, so I really do want to say that here at the start. I am not trying to be insensitive. I do understand. And then also when I am talking about beliefs and belief patterns, because this episode is about that, there is things as your beliefs in your mind that you do have negative talk and you have positive talk. Okay, I don't really reference too much of that in this episode, which I should have, but I do want to say that yes, majority of our belief patterns are negative, but we also do have positive thoughts too. Okay, so I really want to help you guys with that as well. Just when I was editing, I noticed a few things. So I do try to break it down as best I can, but with my episodes, I am always trying to cover from like a universal neutral base, and everything that happens in your own life is very tailored to you and your personal experience. Hence why that's when you start to work one-on-one with somebody. I always come from an experience from like a neutral ground here. Okay, so unless if I'm working one-on-one with you, I try to cover a neutral basis. Okay, anyways, I hope you like it. Just really wanted to reiterate on those couple of things. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. I really wanted to do an episode on belief systems because I don't think everyone really understands mindset. I think like so many people always come to me and be like, Charles, like it's so easy for you to just think positive thoughts. But you know what? Thinking positive thoughts is just not reality. It's not simple. It's not easy. I can't do it. I don't know how you do it, but maybe it's just not for me. I get people saying mindset's bullshit. Don't really know what you're talking about. Honestly, I was like, I'm going to do an episode and really sort of break it down for everybody because I really feel like it will help. So I got my whiteboard again. And belief systems is what we're talking about today. Okay, so belief systems. And I always tell people, why don't you just go watch the kids' movie Inside Out #2? So those that with families have probably already watched it. I thought it would be really good to have like a permanent thing and actually talk about belief systems with people. Okay, so belief systems is what you believe in your mind. Okay, how this even comprehends to our thoughts. This is going to be the episode for you about like negative thoughts, mindset. So, belief systems is what people talk about in self development, right? So, belief systems are when you've grown up as a child, whatever you were surrounded around. So, whatever your parents would say, your family, your friends' parents, your teachers, anyone who influenced you in your life when you were a child, typically between the ages of 0 to 7, they are unconscious. Okay, so when I talk about unconscious and conscious, is that
Conscious is what you actively know what you're thinking, and unconscious is what you don't know what's going on. Okay. Your belief systems are things like money doesn't grow on trees. That's a belief system. A belief system is like, I'm not worthy of good things. A belief system, and these are all negative, right? Okay. So I'll go into, there is positive belief systems, but we generally have negative. Okay. I'm not worthy of something. I don't deserve good love. Another one is, I'm not worthy of money. Nothing good ever happens to me. Things like that. They're all negative belief patterns. Like, they're either called belief patterns, belief systems, whatever you want to call it. Your brain's a computer, and it's like that's what's going on in your brain. Like, that's your programming, right? Anyway, I don't want to get hell hardcore with you guys, but belief patterns is something that you think about in the back of your head that you have no recollection of, especially when you're younger. The reason why it's 0 to 7 is because in that age gap, you are very susceptible to believing whatever people tell you. So if people belittle you in that time, you're more likely to think less of yourself. But if people raise you up in that time, you're more likely to be a lot more positive, right? As a human being. Because children, when they come into the world, they're very pure. They don't know what, like, much of the world. We teach them that. It's like no child is born racist. Unfortunately, racism is actually learnt by the parents or by whoever it is that's influencing the child. So they're born pure into the world. They think everything is amazing until they come into the world and they experience the negative of what us as parents are going through, teachers or bullies at school. That's when that sort of happens. I mean, we're all getting influenced all the time in our life because that's just how it is. It's just at that point, that really core point in our life as a child, it's just very more susceptible then because we're so pure and young. Okay. And so your belief patterns, like, are those things, like I just said, are always just running in the back of your mind. So it's how you think about yourself, which it then comes down to how you perceive the world. So you're thinking of yourself a certain way, and then you perceive that world from how you're thinking of it. All right. Because that influences how you see things, how you see other people, how you're experiencing things in your world, right? You can watch a movie and then your friend will watch the same one, but get a total different experience from it because of that's just how they're wired and how they were brought up. Okay. So your belief patterns fuel your perception, which then fuels your action. All right. So your belief patterns trickle down, like, so from your mind, it trickles down into your perception. So into like your, how you see the world, how you see yourself. And then it trickles down into your action. So how you're showing up for yourself, how you're showing up for other people, how are you moving through your days. Okay. That's just how it works. These little things are just like trickling down, like sprinkles down, sprinkles down. Okay. So you get to your action, and that's where, so from your perception and your belief patterns, it creates the action. So how you're showing up in your days, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, things like that, like how you show up in your life. Okay. Which then we live in like a attraction universe, right? So what you put out is what you get back in. So this is why it's important to work on your belief patterns when you become conscious to it, obviously. Okay. When you get into this work, then you understand something's going on here. I have a negative belief about whatever. It could be anything. It can be money related. It could be you related. It could be just about other people. That's why it's so important to work on your belief patterns and create them to be a positive. So then your perception becomes a lot more clearer and you see a lot more positive. Then it trickles down into your actions. So then you show up in your life a lot more positive on what you want to call in, how you want to feel in your life, what you want to experience. Okay. So that's why that's also important. So trauma is an experience you had. All right. Generally, when you're a child, but we're always experiencing stuff, and things can be traumatizing. I did do a trauma episode and like really uncoding it because I think it gets a bad rap, to be completely honest. You've experienced something generally at when you're younger in that gap of 0 to 7, And it can be something so minor to what we are now. So we're an adult and we have our prefrontal cortex, which is our adult brain. Okay. So that's programmed. All right. Our prefrontal cortex is programmed. And like that's our adult part of our brain, in case people like miss that. So that's our adult part of the brain. When we're a child, up until I forget the statistic. I think it's women before men. I think men's 22 or something, or 25 even. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like 25 for men, and then women's like 20. And what that means is that this gets developed. So when you're a child, up until that time, so up until like we're 20, basically, we're feeling and doing. All right. So we're feeling about situations, and then we just take action. We don't have the reasoning part of our brain. We don't have the self-aware part. For those that are parents, like when your child does something and you're like, why would you think to do that? Because they don't have that adult part of the brain to tell them, well, that's not a great idea. They're just feeling and doing. I'm just feeling good about a situation. I just acted on it. Like, they don't have sense in that aspect, okay? Because that's how they're created. It's up to us to teach them, okay? Right? Hopefully I'm not losing anyone. And so when we get to that age of like, I can't remember the statistic, but it's basically when we're in our 20s, then we start to form our adult part of the brain. That's when we kind of go, oh, okay, like maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And that's when hindsight starts to develop, when we can look back and go, oh gosh, why did I ever think that was a good idea? Or why did I ever do that? Right? We can all relate with that. So my whole point with that literal tangent was because something that traumatized us as like a 5-year-old, or traumatized us as like a 3-year-old, traumatized us as a 7-year-old, does not traumatize us as an adult, because we think, oh my God, that's not traumatizing. What the fuck? Because we have that adult brain. Okay. We have that part. Now, when we've experienced like, because the way I talk about it in that trauma episode was literally like, so as a kid, you could have experienced something like you're wrapping presents. Oh gosh, get out quick. And it's like a sudden, like, shut the door. Or like for women, if we're changing our pad or something, oh my gosh, get out. Like, I just don't want you to see me. Like, because again, as an adult, like I'm trying to change my tampon here. But the child will experience like, oh my gosh, like mommy doesn't want to see me. I'm not important. Why is mommy shutting me out? Type of thing. Okay. That's what I want you to sort of understand here. And so that's how children can perceive so easy. And it's like, oh yeah, whatever, this is ridiculous. But that's the truth. That's just how it's created. And so we go along our life not knowing that. And so then when we're older and we're getting into self-development and understanding and creating self-awareness, again, not every adult has self-awareness, by the way. So it's not something you just randomly gain. I do know that. It's something you choose. So when those of us that want to be like self-aware and things like that, this is how we're like, okay, we can understand this. Okay. So I'll do me as an example. Actually, I think this would actually help so much. So I had one parent that was present, as in they were there for me when I was a kid. My other parent wasn't. They didn't live in the same house, and I only saw them like every so often, basically. So my mum was my primary caregiver. She was present because we lived in the same house. My dad did not live in the same house because I'm from a broken family, I guess you want to call it. And so I would only see him on the weekend. Sometimes it would be every weekend, sometimes it wouldn't be, because I didn't understand the family drama when I was a little girl. Okay. Now, even though my mum was present as she lived with me, she wasn't emotionally present. And as a child, I do feel like you do need both. Okay. And some people might even be listening to this or watching this and being like, what the heck? Like, when you become a parent, why wouldn't you be both? Some of us did not get that grace when we were younger with our parents, but we thanked them anyway because they didn't understand. Okay. And then my dad, he actually was emotionally there as much as he could. So not completely. Okay, that's my situation. Now, knowing as an adult, my dad had a lot of mental health. Okay, I had no idea. He actually suffered from depression, and he was going to therapy and speaking to people. My mum actually knew that and chose not to relay that to me as a child, and instead always said, your dad can't rely on him. And she spoke so ill of him. Okay. My dad would only ever speak ill of my mum when he like was at his breaking point and was like, "You're fucking mum." And that's about it. He would never say anything more. Now that's a detriment to a child because we're programming them to believe a certain way about a parent. I really started to not want to be around my dad because of that. And as a child, I'm trusting my mum because she's physically there for me. Even though I don't know she's not there emotionally, she's there physically. So I trust her because, I don't live with my dad. I don't trust him as much. When I was growing up, and so in high school, I attracted, so the boyfriends I would have throughout high school only wanted me for one thing, or they weren't emotionally there for me. They weren't, even though my dad was emotionally there, because he was in therapy himself, he understood mindset and stuff. He was there for me emotionally, but he wasn't there physically because I lived with my mum. So the boys that I would attract in would either only want to have sex with me basically, or they couldn't be there for me and fulfill my needs, right? So then my relationship wouldn't last. The longest one I ever had in high school was probably 6 months. Going through when I got older, and partners that I would attract in again weren't emotionally there for me and were quite controlling. Now, how this even matters and coincides is that what I experienced as a child with my dad coming and going and with my mum not being emotionally there for me, I attracted people like that. It's very confronting to hear this because people are like, I'm not the reason why I got beat up in a relationship. 100% you didn't deserve that. Of course not. But there is a reason why those people come into our life. I'm no better. I had kids with a criminal. So I attracted him in because he was very here and there. And I'm used to that. I gave up a relationship when the guy was actually very present. And I would never say that was a toxic relationship, but he was very controlling and he never liked he liked me a certain way. And that's how my mum was, where she never thought that it was great that I completed hairdressing qualification. She never said, congratulations, I'm proud of you. My mum has probably, she's never actually really said, I'm proud of you. I've only caught her once. And that was a couple of years ago, which I was so surprised at. So she's only ever in my whole entire life ever said I'm proud of her. Now, I'm not shitting on my parents here. Okay. I'm really not. But this is what I'm trying to explain with how we go throughout our life by how we're raised and what is said to us. It coincides with our thoughts. Okay. So because my mum wasn't emotionally there, but she was just there. And my dad he tried to be emotionally there and he wasn't there physically because I lived with my mum. To me now, with what I know, with what I've worked on myself and self-development and how everything works and things like that, it makes sense why I had my kids basically how I had them. Because I had a story running of not feeling worthy. I already had an abandonment issue because of my dad coming and going and my mum not actually emotionally meeting my needs. That is abandoning. So I can be quite needy sometimes. If I'm not feeling my complete best, I can be very needy in a relationship. And that really repels men. But when you meet a partner that can understand why, it changes your game. That's the difference between self-aware people and not self-aware people. Okay. So there's always a reason why we do the things that we do. And I talk about that in the attachment episode. I do attachment styles episode. Anyway, and so I can be quite needy because I'm scared that, holy shit, you're going to leave me again because everyone always leaves. That is a thing that I have had to work through. It still shows up sometimes, but not as heavy as it used to. I have the tools in my belt to be able to handle that. But it still shows up because that's just how healing works. And that's self-development, right? When you reach new heights into your growth, things will show up again, but just in different ways. And it's about how you handle the thing. Okay. And so it makes sense I had kids out how I've had them. And even though I regret that because my kids now got to suffer from not having a second parent as such, so the partners that I've had throughout my life, they always come and go or they're not emotionally invested. So until I started really working on myself and noticing this, it really changed the game for me. I then started to when I was dating, I was attracting in people that really were stable and emotionally there for me. I actually had quite a good dating experience because I did work on things like this. Now, how this always coincides with beliefs, then that means, so because I experienced that as a kid and it showed up in my life with partners, whether they were there emotionally or not there physically, And then by the time I worked on it and I cut off that cycle, and then I'm able to actually experience like a good relationship now because I've been able to understand and heal from that. Okay. So I want to actually say something here. So when you've experienced something as a child, okay, you carry that throughout your adult life, and then it will show up in your adult life again. Can't do it without looking. So then the stars represent my trauma, okay? With abandonment shows up in my childhood. I'm used to that. So then I carry that through all the stages through when I've had relationships in my adult life. And then it shows up again. I had children, okay? And then until I really then cut the cycle off, so I severed the tie and really understood like, oh my gosh, that makes total sense, because there's always a reason and there's everything comes full circle. Okay. So going through my life and stuff and then cutting it off here. So I've healed that. And now it's just like a smoother thing to carry through my life. And I'm able to actually experience something healthy. But if we don't cut that off, then it's going to keep getting carried through. And then you're going to go through another relationship and it's going to come up there. And then again, another relationship until you actually cut it off and actually understand and heal from whatever has come up. Then you can actually live like a more easy life because you've cut it off, if that makes sense. Okay. I just thought a visualization would be easier. And that's just how it like sums it up. Okay. With that whole cycle I just showed you is the belief pattern I had running. Oh, a few actually. So I am not worthy of love. I am not deserving. And the other one was everyone always leaves me. Okay. So if anyone relates to that. So that was a belief that I had running, a negative pattern in my mind running, coinciding to what was happening. So this is the action of what's going on in my life, how it's showing up with partners. And this is actually what's running in my mind, what I'm telling myself, but I don't realize I'm actually telling myself that. That's the pattern. Okay. Now, when we decide to, okay, Tells, I can kind of understand where you're coming from. How do we work on our belief patterns? Okay. Is it actually a little bit of a journaling session? Now, I know I've said like you can't just journal your way out of stuff. 100% you can't, but this is how you start to recognize. The first step I want you guys to understand is where in your life have you noticed things coinciding? When I really worked through a lot of my stuff with a coach a few years ago after everything went down with the girls' biological, I noticed the pattern of feeling abandoned, not having a stable person to rely on because that's how my parents have been. Even though it's like, but your mum was stable. Yes, physically, but again, emotionally. This is why it's like so important to be there for our kids, because you can be there. Like, yeah, you're taking them to school and you're getting them home and you're feeding them, but emotionally actually meeting their needs and understanding what they need from you, that's a different ball game. With my emotions growing up, my mum would just shut me down and said, you're being stupid. You're being silly. I did not say that. She would never take accountability. She never says sorry. She hasn't even said sorry to this day. Like, she doesn't say sorry, blames me for everything. I was always the problem. I even see her doing it with my kids now. And I'm like, hang on a sec. And I always question it because I don't want that on them. So it's that sort of thing is what I'm talking about, okay? Just to bring some understanding. And so how we can work on it, notice in a day, just notice your thoughts, okay? So step one, notice your thoughts. Notice what are you saying when something happens, okay? So I don't know, someone bumps into you at the shop or someone's judging you because your kid's screaming. Notice what are you saying to yourself, or even if you're someone to say it to them. Notice what it is. Is it negative or is it positive? Notice when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, what thoughts have come up for you, or like, what do you even say to yourself? What are you thinking about you? Is it negative or positive? When your partner talks to you about something, or a friend, if you're single, notice what comes up for you, negative or positive. Now, if majority of are negative, that's where you're like, okay, so what is it that you're telling yourself? Like, what is the common denominator? Is it you're not worthy? And when I mean by you're not worthy, to say you look at yourself in the mirror and all you're saying is like how much you could work on your body. Like, I'm so ugly. I need to lose weight in that area. Like, what is it? That's part of worthiness. You don't feel worthy. because you don't feel confident in yourself, right? You have lack of self-love. I know it's a typical woman thing, but we can break that cycle because that is something that we have been programmed by shows, and I could literally go on about it. So let's just not. But you can break that cycle. And this is the misconception I actually will say here. The misconception people actually talk about in a lot of self-development is that you cannot be in gratitude or you cannot feel a happy emotion and feeling sad at the same time. You absolutely can. Like, honestly, you absolutely can, because that is polarity and that is duality in life. You can literally, for mothers, you can literally be like, holy shit, I'm going to rip you a new one, kid. Like, you make me so frustrated. And then all of a sudden, in the next 2 minutes, you can be like, I just love you so damn much. That's duality. You're living in duality of like, holy shit, you're testing my patience, but I love you. That absolute, like, I would never change my life for you. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's duality for the people who aren't parents and don't experience that. So you can actually be in, life is just really testing and really hard right now. I don't even know if I'm going to reach my goal. But then you can also be like, holy shit, I really love doing what I do. That's duality that exists. You can be happy, but also be feeling a bit shit, because you know why? That no one likes to tell. The reason is because we're human. Okay. And this is where I feel like self development, oh, you've got to be inhuman. No, it's about accepting yourself, accepting the humanness. So you can be like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy right now. I've really been working out, or like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that that has happened, or this is doing so well, whatever it is. And then you can also experience, holy shit, though, like life is really testing and really hard. That is your human emotion. You're allowed to feel that way. And I encourage you, if that comes up where you're like, holy shit, like, why am I even sad? I need to be more grateful. Like, gratitude is it. No, don't tell yourself that. You're allowed. Like, that's you just noticing, okay, shit, I'm hell happy, but like, fuck, life is hard. That's fucking normal. That's your humanness being like, life is hard. You can absolutely cry about it. You can scream into a pillow, whatever you need to do to like get out that emotion, whatever's coming up, do it. Because that's, you've got to acknowledge your humanness of like, the experience is hard. When people go, oh no, but I should be more grateful, I shouldn't even be sad because someone else has it harder. That's a limiting story we tell ourselves, especially in Australia. Step one is to acknowledge, like, what thoughts are you thinking? Just monitor them. Your second one is to ask yourself, so where's this coming from? Like, do I not think I'm worthy? You know, do I feel like I'm not doing enough? You know, whatever. It could be something so different for everyone. And then I want you to journal out, what makes me think that of myself, or what makes me think that of my partner? What makes me think that of my friend? What makes me think that of how I show up every day or in work? Like, what makes you think that? Is that even yours? Or was that something that someone said to you? Because we do take on a lot of other people's stuff too. And so that's what I want you guys to work on. So those 3 steps, and then you'll start to understand like what has been said. So the 4th step is, I want you to then go, what's a better feeling thought? And so a better feeling thought would be, so say if it's, I don't deserve good things, you say, I am always deserving of great opportunity. That's a better feeling thought, because you are. If it's like, I'm not worthy enough, a better feeling thought is, I have always been worthy, because you have. That's a better feeling thought. And so when you write out the new ones, however many, because everyone's so different, when you write out those, I then want you to say them to yourself every day. If that feels weird, record them in your iPhone or your Samsung and then listen to it every morning. So when you wake up in the morning, and whether you have kids or not, and you're getting breakfast ready and the kids are like, oh my God, I'm hungry, you put your headphones in and you play what you've said, because the beauty in that is you're actually programming yourself with your own voice. So your subconscious will actually act like, oh shit, she's talking, and it will soak in that. And once you do that over time, so every day, early morning, like pretty much as soon as you wake up, put your headphones in, listen to yourself saying those new beliefs, and it really over time will reprogram. Like I said, it's a lifestyle change, okay? Hope this helps you guys. That's like a bit about your belief patterns and where they come from and all these sort of things. But just know you're always worthy of anything in life. You're always worthy. You never should have to go without. You should never feel like, "Oh, but like this is happening for me, so I shouldn't want that too." Yes, life is abundant. You're worthy of it all, because that's also something that's been put on us and said, like, you should be grateful for what you have. You are grateful for that, but you can also have more. Life is abundant. We just got to see it and program, because once you do that, and when you reprogram with those new beliefs of those better feeling thoughts, you'll start to see like more luxury cars, or you'll start to see more positive in life. There's actually abundance everywhere. Like, oh my gosh, that green light held on longer than I thought. Thank you so much. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but I appreciate you guys for listening and supporting the show and everything like that. But I hope this really helps. Let me know how you go, but you absolutely got this.